Vincent Hall, and welcome to another episode of Anyone Can Draw, Paint, and Create. Today we're going to be taking it back a little bit to a more beginner type lesson that everyone can follow along. All you're going to need is a pencil. If you want to fill it in with colored pencil later, you're welcome to, but we're going to kind of go back to one of the earlier drawings that we did of that rabbit, only today we're going to try a bird. Birds are another interesting animal. People enjoy looking at them, watching them. Some people have them as pets, and they're really not that difficult to draw. And then once you get your bird, you can create this whole entire imaginary scene where it could be in a tree, or it could be walking in the grass, or in a cage, or wherever you might want to put your bird. So let's get started. When you first start thinking about your bird, first think about where you want to put it on your paper. If you want a portrait of a bird, keep your paper portrait size. If you want to make the bird part of a scene, I would suggest going to landscape or horizontal. Just to keep this easier to see, I'm going to stay with portrait. And really, drawing birds is a lot of oval shapes. So if we think about the head, just like when we were drawing a person the last two lessons, we're going to put the head in first. I'm putting my bird pretty far over here so that he can be off to the side a little bit and he'll have somewhere to look. But I think, now that I look at it, he's a little too far over for where I want to go. So I'm going to move his head to maybe right about here. And I'm just drawing a circle shape, followed by what's almost an oval. Their bodies are not quite an oval. If you remember the rabbit, that was more oval. So it's kind of like an oblong, oval, almost like a free shape type thing. But if you can draw an oval, just a plain old oval, you can then tweak it a little bit. But we want to make sure that their breastbone is nice and large and that the back is straighter, because that's eventually where the wings are going to go, which is what we're going to do next. To draw a wing, we're just going to come part way down, and if you can make the letter C right there, you can draw a wing, because we're just going to start like a C, and then my pencil's just going to keep going all the way off the page. And that's pretty much the end of the wing there. And then I'm just going to connect where I had my oblong thing to the bottom of this wing and taper it. And I have a nice shape for a wing. After that, we want to do feet. Now this is a little bit tricky, because if you put your feet too far up here or too far back here, bird's going to tip over. So we have to think about where that wing is and try to find the middle of the wing, which is from here to here, not the tapered part of the feathers, but the wing in the bird body. And I'm going to draw a line down, and that's where I'm going to put my feet. And bird feet tend to slant forward, so I'm just going to slant this bird foot forward a little bit, and then I'm just drawing basically a little triangle. And birds have 2 feet, so I'm going to draw another one right next to it. And that's kind of the basis for the bird, except for the beak. So now that I have this round circle for a head, and I can look at it and go, I want to taper this down. So I'm going to follow a line this way and just continue my circle, but now get rid of that top part of your circle. So we have more of a half of a shape, because they don't have a big cranium looking out. So you can see what I did. I modified my circle to be more flatter, almost like a backwards letter D, if you want to think about it like that. Now the beak is going to be just like the human, 2/3 down. That's where the mouth is. And if you can draw a triangle, you can make a beak. And if you can see here, we have the basis for a bird, which we're going to shade in and do a lot more things here in a minute, but that's the basis. The last thing I'm going to do is add the eye. Bird eyes, because birds are both predators and prey, so their eyes are about halfway in the middle. So if this was the middle of his face, this is halfway. Not halfway from the back, but the imaginary halfway from the front to the other side of his face if he was looking forward. Or if you want to just think about putting it roughly 1/4 of a way in from the left side if you're drawing a bird facing left. Now we can go back in and start to add some detail. First, I'm going to erase out my imaginary line for the feathers. Feathers grow in different line shapes. So if we go here, I'm going to go a little darker now, and I'm just going to start drawing in some texture that'll look like feathers. We'll do a whole feather drawing down the road. Those are a lot of fun. I like drawing peacock feathers, but this is going to be more of like a pigeon or a robin or some other generic type bird that you might see pretty much anywhere. And then I'm going to make a little bit of a line where I see the ruffly feathers go here. And now I'm going to taper his body back up by getting rid of that little extra lump from my oval so that he has more of a bird shape. Hopefully you can see this bird is starting to take his basic shape, and now we're going to go back in with the same technique we were using for the bunny, but make roughly little feathers. So I'm just going to kind of make a bunch of, basically they look like W's, and some can be darker and some can be lighter. And as I move down the breastbone, I'm making them longer. And I just keep on going until I get the basic idea of what these little feathers would be. And then I'm going to erase out that part in here. And then I'm just going to start shading lightly all of these little areas where the feathers are. And I'm going to then shade in the eye, just like we did before, but leave a little tiny space for the catchlight, and erase out where the beak was, and we have the basics of a bird. That's as far as I'm going with pencil. I've decided I'd like to make my bird colorful, so I'll be right back with some colored pencils and you'll get a chance to see how we can make this a little more interesting. I've decided to make this bird a robin because the red color will be pretty easy to see on the breastbone. So what I'm going to start doing, I lightened up those little feathers I drew in before, but I'm leaving some of the pencil lines in, is just get a base color laid in of red for the red breast. And know where it ends. It doesn't take up the whole thing. I mean, I guess you could make it a cardinal and then it could be red all over. If you have a different color red or a darker red colored pencil, you're welcome to use that. And I'm just going to use that to add some shadow under the wing. There we go. The rest of this bird is pretty much gray. So I'm going to use my black colored pencil and just, or you could use a regular lead pencil. And I'm going back over my wing and just kind of coloring it all in, but leaving some of those darker pencil lines show. And again, if you want to just switch to plain pencil, that's fine too. And down along the side of the bird, I'm just going to add more shading as the wing comes in. And then just make a few more little feathery marks by making lines, just short little staccato lines as it tapers down to the tail. And then I'm just going to lightly color in the rest of the bird with my colored pencil just to give him some, or her, some tone. You can go around in circles, you can color it in however you want. I'm just trying to make sure I don't go over that eye completely because I do like that white catchlight, but I'm going to go back in with my colored pencil with the white and add more to that. The underside of the robin is pretty light, so I'm just going to go lighter here, and that'll help define where this feather that's down is going on the inside here. Then I'm also just going to take my black and come down along the edge just to further define the shadow. So we're getting a pretty good start. We've got some other things to do now involving yellow. I have a darker yellow pencil, but feel free to use whatever you have. Going to just color in the beak a little bit and the feet using my computer for light. There we go. And then I'm just going to use my darker pencil again just to give the bird some depth along the neck so that the head stands out just a little bit more. This is a real quick and easy exercise. It basically involves simple shapes, which I'll go back over again once we're done, but I just wanted to give you a sense of what to do. Speaking of what to do, now where do we put our bird? Well, I'm just going to take the easy route and think that this bird is looking for worms, So I'm just gonna make some short strokes with a green. And don't be afraid to go over parts of the foot, just to give this drawing a little bit of grounding. You know, you could go full on and make a whole landscape behind this bird if you want to. But you can see I'm just overlapping short strokes, just very short strokes. I'll be more defined here. You hear that sound? That's what you want to hear, short strokes, and some that go over the foot. If you have a darker green, you can use that, or you can take red, which will darken green, and just kind of go in the grass with some different colors. And we all know grass also has yellow, especially when the grass has been mowed and there's some thatch or dried grass. So I'm going to add some yellow, not as much. So don't use the same amount of color all over. That's not going to work so well for you, but at least it's going to give the bird some grounding. Let's see here. Now what I'm going to do is take my white pencil and just bring in that catch light just a little bit more right there so we can see the catch light on the eye, and go back in with my black again, going other directions to try to give this head a little more definition. I'm not too happy with how light that looked. And by going around the edge of this wing, I'm going to start to give the bird a little more depth on his body. Sorry. It's hard to draw and talk at the same time, just like chewing gum and walking. There we are. Go back underneath here. And there you have a basic bird. This is a quick and easy lesson. I've been asked to do some more advanced work, some beginner work, so this definitely falls in a category of beginner, but if you're an advanced artist, you could make a whole bunch of birds in different poses. They could be looking for food, flying. They could be in a nest. The sky's the limit, no pun intended with the bird. So just to review, we started out with a basic circle. We drew an oval and then flattened the oval like the edge of a letter D. Then went back and made an elongated letter C for the wing and just connected it to the top part of the bird's back. The feet are sticks, basically the legs rather, are just two lines with a triangle bottom for the back, for his little bottom of his feet, and also the beak is a triangle. So if you can do an oval, a triangle, sticks, a circle, you've pretty much captured the ability to make a bird. It's really not that hard. If you wanted to go back in, again, like I could add a whole background here. I'll put some mountains behind the bird, because I always like to make things more finished, and just kind of color this in so he has somewhere to be. Now, the interesting thing about the grass and what I'm doing right now, just toning all this in a little bit, is you don't need the grass to go all the way back. It'll make it look like this bird is trapped in a forest. And as things recede, you don't see as much detail. So I'll add a few little lines to show that the grass continues, and then I'll just start fading it out. So eventually you don't see any of these lines. And this gives you something called depth of field, which is where things look more faded as you go in the background. Okay. And then just because it's me and I never like to leave things undone, I'm just going to take a light blue and just lightly tone in the sky. So this bird is living the dream in a nice sunny day with a light blue sky. Not even any clouds, just a little tone. It's not too much. And then you could sign it, you know, keep going with the grass if you wanted, but I'm going to end it about there. And there you have it, pretty much a finished bird drawing. I hope you enjoyed the brief and relatively simple lesson on how to draw a bird. If you're an advanced artist, try challenging yourself. Draw several birds in different positions. A bird looking right at you is an unusual viewpoint, but it's something, if you've skilled yourself with drawing the basic side view of a bird, like this, that you could try doing a front view as well. If you want to come down to the art room, the beginner through advanced drawing class meets every Wednesday from noon to 2. So you might want to give yourself a try with this and see what you come up with. I hope you enjoy the slideshow that follows, which are a lot of different bird drawings. There are so many people that use birds as their reference point or their subject, that it's their go-to subject. And it's a lot of fun to see what they do. I hope you've enjoyed this week's video. If I see you downstairs in room 122, then I will see you. And if not, I will see you virtually next week for another Anyone Can Draw, Paint, and Create lesson. Till then, stay safe and be well, Vincent Hall.